Where do you think that we should be getting sort of our news from? I'm that might not be the right framing or phrasing, but like we talked about it beforehand, like this idea that Coinbase news feed sort of went down and everything went a flurry and just the madness ensued. And then there's conversations like we're just too Twitter focused and anything that happens is just Twitter. And then I think if you could also share like how it was when you were at Variant, which is like a Web3 fund. So that's just a completely different ball game. So to sort of give that insight, how do you see that sort of feeding of the news cycle, or where journalists are getting their topics, where readers are getting their topics and their interests, and just sort of laying it out?
Yeah, I'll actually start with the Variant part, which is to say that distribution of content, I think, has become more difficult and more brutal than ever. And that affects not just media and journalists, because at the same time, non-media outlets are producing and creating their own content at a higher volume than ever. In other words, even financial brands, banks, VC funds, startups, consumer-facing apps, they all think at this point that they need to have content and they need to have a voice. And I think that's fine and great. And for many of them, that actually makes sense. The problem is creating the content is one thing. And especially at certain, VC funds, that alone is kind of a hard task. You need to change the DNA. You need to get these people who are used to being in investment pitch meetings all day, every day. You need to get them writing more. You need to get the content wheel cranking. So that was sort of step one for me at that job. But that happened pretty quick. I ramped up the volume. Part two, which is actually much harder, is getting people to click it, getting people to see it, reaching people where they are. And that's not just because, a cynic could roll their eyes and say, well, yeah, no one wants to read stuff from a VC fund. It's not just that. Although it's certainly true that our goal was not traffic to the website, because how many people are going to a VC fund's website to see what their newest blog post is? Maybe some. But it's not just that. It's that, Twitter, post-Elon, it seems to me, less useful than it's ever been as a distribution platform for content. In fact, last I checked, the algorithm seems to ding tweets that have an article link in them. The new thing I see everyone doing is they do a tweet where it talks about the article and then it says, link in next tweet, which I hate. It kills me. It's like, it's just not clean. But that seems to be the way Twitter is now. So where do you go? Well, more people than ever are getting news from Instagram. I think if you're a news outlet, you certainly need to be doing something on Instagram. Well, then there's TikTok. Okay, maybe you need a TikTok strategy. Maybe you need to do videos. But does that actually drive traffic to your website? And is that actually your goal? Then there's Substack. I write a little books newsletter because I review books on the side. And very small, 650 subscribers. And it grows so slowly, even though I think the stuff I'm writing there is great. Well, so that's kind of tough. Although if you're someone with 500,000 Twitter followers, that's sort of the only group of people that when you're above that bar, okay, you can successfully do a paid Substack. So where does that leave everyone? Whether you're a journalist, a news outlet, or some other type of content creating company. And the answer is that, it sucks, because the answer is basically more is more, but you need to be reaching people where they are. So there's people getting their news on Instagram. You need to make sure that the people on Instagram are seeing your stuff on Instagram. Don't assume that they also follow you on Twitter and see the stuff you're sharing on Twitter. And then there's LinkedIn. And there's a certain group of people in crypto who think, well, LinkedIn, isn't that for boomers? I don't know. I mean, I'm seeing more people using LinkedIn than ever. I think LinkedIn has done a really nice job, actually, of moving into the void Twitter has created. So you better be posting your stuff on LinkedIn. You better have an Instagram strategy. You probably need to be posting to Facebook, even though personally, I haven't used Facebook in like 10 years, but people are using it. So you should be posting your content to Facebook. So what I would say is and this is not new. I mean, this has been true for media for over 10 years. You need to have a multi-platform strategy. You need to be posting your stuff everywhere. Go to people where they already are. Don't expect them to come to you. And only a select few places can make the model work of we're basically just email newsletters. That only works if you are must read for a certain industry. For example, the information. High value investigative stuff. Here's the org chart at Uber. People in Silicon Valley will pay for that. Or Puck. Email newsletters from the beat person who is one of the most well-sourced beat reporters in this industry. If you care about Hollywood news or if you care about finance and Wall Street, Puck. So those places to me are really wonderful. They're great models, but they're the exception to the norm. Everyone else, you need to have a mass blanket approach.